Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Greg West coming to you from Road to Freedom, No More Chains podcast and YouTube channel. Today on our show, we have our special guest will be Jeorge Logan. He's um he's a peer recovery support specialist here in Ohio. He's also has chemical his associate's degree in chemical dependency studies. George also like many of us is a restored citizen. He also started his own nonprofit organization, which we will be talking about. The name of his organization is, the Chance Agency, where he also provides housing for restored citizens coming home, and also people, who might suffer from drug and alcohol problems. Um, One thing about George that I know, and I'll get into all that in our interview, is we're going to be Felons with a Future, which you guys know is our nonprofit organization that we started, which helps restore, citizens coming home, work on their mindset of, changing their belief systems as we work on showing them how to develop a business plan, write it, and also marketing plan, hook them up with mentors, and all that we do, and help them if they finish their 12 weeks get their business license. And he's one of our partners that we're looking to have a long time partnership with, who will be providing housing for some of the ones coming home. And I admire George. That's how come when we made a decision to start looking for partners, we wanted people with integrity. And I can say that about this man. You know, you can always reach us if you want more information about what we do here at with a Future at felonswithafuture.org, or you can find us, or you can email us at felonswithafuture@gmail.com. With that being said, George, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what the organizations that you have and everything that you're doing?
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate you inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my own hope and my story about how I got here. Because I'm gonna tell you, it is remarkable that I am in the position that I'm in today. Uh, I, I I was genuinely hurt when my family revealed to me that they had a pool and that they was betting on how long, on what age I was going to die,
I, I
because
I've been
nobody
there too.
expected me
Yeah.
to live past 25. My lifestyle, my thinking, my behaviors did not support healthy life.
Right.
Uh, I was actually, I've been incarcerated a good portion of my life. I spent from age 12 to I was 22. I was pretty much incarcerated. I had more time in some type of a detention facility than I did out in my whole adolescence. Now, I wasn't locked up that whole straight time through, but at 12 months, at 12 years old, they locked me up for 3 months. I was out 6 months, they locked me up 9 months. I was out for a year, they locked me up for a year and a half. I was out 3 months, they locked me up for 6 months. So it was that whole adolescence. Um, I've done a lot of geographicals. I've lived in a bunch of different places because, we have that idea that if I just go someplace where they don't know me, then I won't have them same problems.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, and I'm going to interrupt real quick. But you're explaining it for those who didn't know what a geographical was. Talk, let them know so that they know. They be like, "What's this man talking about?" I've done a lot of geographicals. Well, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I forgot that I can't use colloquialisms. I can't use the words that we use in our community. That a
Right.
geographical is changing my location, moving to a different area with the hopes of moving away from the problems that I had in the area that I was leaving. And that works for a minute. It works until I get there.
Right.
And then what I end up doing every time is creating new problems. And oftentimes it's the same old rehash problem that I was trying to get away from. I just created in a with different people in a different place. But it's still the same problem. That problem I came to find out was me and the way I think. And one of my moves took me to Sacramento, California. I moved to Sacramento, California in 1995 or 96. And I did well for a while, got a good job, got my own place. I was doing well. And then the crazy thinking started coming in. And eventually I ended up forfeiting everything I had worked for and found myself back in prison again in California. And that's really where the change came. I'm really grateful that um, for me, I had to be put into a place where it was a fishbowl. You know, there was a very confined area where there was no hiding. There was no, it is what it is. You look around, you got to go to the bathroom. There's a dude next to you using the bathroom too. You take a shower, you ain't in there alone. There is no, everything that I did was on public display for everybody. And there were some people who had a different way. I mean, real killers. These dudes were doing life. They had chopped people up and was never getting out. And so they didn't care about my feelings.
Right.
And they started saying, look at yourself, young brother. Look at who you are. Who are you? And I started asking myself that question. Well, shoot, who am I? I've always tried to be what I tried to show what I want people to think I am, but I've never really come to a real definitive idea of who I am. And they forced me to start looking at myself and start asking myself some questions. And that's where I got a better understanding of change, because it wasn't like I just woke up that day and realized I had problems or that things needed to change. I have been to 8 residential treatment programs for my substance abuse problem. I have done 3 prison terms as a result of my substance abuse problem. So it wasn't like I just realized maybe it's the drugs. I knew that for a long time. And you don't check yourself in 8 times because you're faking. I was sincere. I really wanted to change and could never understand why I kept going back to the same thing that I was believing I was trying to get away from. And I learned about what change is. And that's why when I finally got myself moving forward and I decided I want to make a difference, I wanted to share with other people the understanding that I have developed about change, about not just changing my behavior, but changing my worldview, changing my perception of how I see things. And when I start looking at the same thing that I've always seen, but I see it differently, then I found that the decisions I make about that are going to be different. And the actions that I take as the result of that are going to be different. And therefore, the consequences are going to be different. I ain't been to prison and it's coming up on 11 years. That's a long time for me. That's
Right.
a long time for me.
Yeah, I can identify with a lot that you're talking about, George, because like that was, a lot of what you're saying is my story also. I'm talking about, as far as like it took me to be in that fishbowl per se, that last that in the penitentiary to really say, is this what I want my life to be? And that's when the change really started. It's funny you were saying that because this is where I came up with the concept of felons with a future. Was in the penitentiary when I was locked up. Was like, how did I get here? I knew, I could talk about, all the stuff that I was doing in the streets, and I could see the road. But I'm talking about, how did I get to the place where my mindset said committing crimes on a regular was the okay thing to do, And then when I finally got caught, like, how did I get here? So I understand, and about the change. Some of the things like I'm going to ask you about, and I like to ask because like we know dealing with what we deal with and the people we deal with, having to break that cycle of thinking, that negative thinking. What were some of the challenges that you faced when you were determined this time to change your life, but you still had that negative thinking? What were some of the challenges that you went through and that you overcame, and some of the tools that you found that were helpful to help you get past that?
I'll tell you, the most instrumental thing in my process of change was the people I chose to associate with.
That's right. All right.
I I respected these men. I mean, looking at their life, the way they carried themselves, how they saw themselves was attractive to me because and remember, I was in prison at the time. And one of these men was a shot caller, right? I remember we was having a book study, a literature study at one time where we were looking into change, and the the captain of the guard came and very politely said, "Excuse me, I'm sorry for interrupting. I need to talk to you." And he's like, "Well, just what do you need?" And he explained a problem that they were having with inmates in the prison to an inmate. And the inmate said, "Well, I'll tell you what, let me finish what I'm doing here, lay the yard down, and I'll go address that." And this is early on in my process. I saw an inmate tell the captain to turn on the sirens and make 4,000 people lay prone on the ground, and it happened. And I was like, I want that kind of respect. That's what I want. I want people to recognize my path. And granted, at the time, I'm thinking, but I've come to find that he got to this position because he was a man of honor, because he was a man of integrity, and that he was fair in a process of solving problems. And they recognized that and utilized it. And to me, that was huge.
Right.
So I trusted these people, him and several other people. So when they came to me and told me, "Say, young brother, that thinking, you might want to take a look at that," I was able to take a look at it because of who it was, because other people in my life had been telling me things, but yeah, I hear you, I know, but. And at some point, these people I trusted. So when they gave me direction and when they gave me feedback, maybe it was the way they did it, but I was open to hearing it. And I could do some of the things that they were asking me to do, even though many times I thought that don't make no sense.
Right.
But I trusted them and I listened to them. And the change comes, I have to change my behavior in order to change my thinking.
And a lot of times people don't get that. Like I know one of my downfalls when I first came home in 2010, I thought that I could still do some of the things that I was doing prior to me getting locked up in 2008. And as a result, still hanging with the same homies and stuff like that, and making some of the same decisions. 2011, I was facing 5 more years, and that's when I was like, okay, you came up with this plan when you were locked up. You didn't implement it, and you did not put it to action. Now here it is. You're facing 5 years. What are you going? Are you going to really start doing something different? And I remember, going through that process and having to find new associates. That was a tough thing. So one of the things that we talk about a lot, and I know you talk with the gentlemen that you work with, and in the houses that you have. Talk about, you know what I'm saying, those new associates, how you went about picking the men and women, or the men that, you wanted to, once you were free, and you knew that you didn't want to go back. But talk about some of the process of picking better friends, because, a lot of people think I got to stay loyal to the hood and all of that stuff, and not realizing that, my loyalty is what's keeping me, not even my, no, let me rephrase that. Not my loyalty, my distorted sense of loyalty is what keeps me in this vicious cycle.
Well, I tell you, one thing I have learned is I don't know. I don't know who's going to go right and who's going to go left.
Right.
Because the person that seemingly has their head straight and is saying all the right things and is genuinely sincere, found himself falling back. And the dude that I just knew wasn't going to make it, that was going to be back in bed by the end of the month, that dude will be the one. I don't know. And I don't pretend to know. I don't, I mean, only thing I'm looking for when I interview people to come into my program, because you realize, I think you do know this. One of the reasons that the Adult and Sober Living program is so popular is because we are one of the very few programs in the area that don't charge the client.
Right.
It doesn't cost anything to be here. All right. So we do have to select carefully as best we can. But I go into this process knowing that all I'm really looking for is sincerity and open-mindedness. Like I said, you got to trust me because I'm positive I am going to ask you to do things that you don't want to do. I'm going to ask you, I am going to see something that you can't see. And you just have to trust and believe that from this side, I see something that you can. When I ask you to act upon it, that you just have to trust and believe that I know what I'm doing. That's really what I'm looking for, is that trust and that open-mindedness is what I'm really looking for.
And, because we were going to get to the change agency. But let's talk about the Dulo House. How long have you been operating that, and talk about a little bit about, the concept of what it is. Like you said, it's free to the clients, because a lot of, like you said, most sober living and transitional housing, what you're doing is unheard of. You know what I mean? So let's talk about the concept of how you came up with that concept, and, the work that you do with the gentlemen and everything that you that come through there.
Okay. So first of all, let me tell you about the name, Adullam. It's called the Adullam Solar Living. It can be pronounced, actually, I don't know how to pronounce it. I pronounce it Adullam, but the word, but it actually comes from the Old Testament. And one thing, this is not a faith-based program. I do not run a faith-based program. I do not require anybody to believe the way I do, but this is my belief and it works for me, so I run with it. And we're all familiar with King David. King David was, we know the stories about David, that he was this great man. But the truth of the matter is, if you really read it,
Right.
David was a thug.
Yeah.
David was a hood. David and his men was running around extorting people. They'd run up on rich people and say, ooh, you got some nice stuff. Be ashamed if somebody took it, pay me. And that's what David was doing. So Saul, the king of Israel, was chasing David to try and kill him because he was extorting Israel. And David, running from Saul, ran into the caves in an area called Adullam. And this is where David hid from having to face consequences for his actions. And this is where God touched him and made him a man after God's own heart. And David took 300 people with him, and they were people that were disgraced, discouraged, and in debt. They were not good people. But in the caves of Adullam, God touched him and he turned them into mighty men of God. And then when they came back, they not only reunited the nation of Israel, they went and got the Ark of the Covenant and they rebuilt the temple. But in any case, it is a place where no goodniks can go and become better people, is what Adullam was. And that's why I called it Adullam. It's a place where you can come as you are, knowing you messed up, and come out a better person than you went in. Our idea is to develop strength in our character. We only have one rule in the program. That rule is do what you said you need to do. So when you come in, I ask you, what are your goals? What do you hope to accomplish while you are here? And everybody's got similar goals. Number one, I want to stay clean.
Right.
I want to get a job. I want to get my own place. I want to get a girl. I want to get a car. I want to get my kids. These are very, very common goals. I like, okay, those are good goals. What do you need to be doing in order for you to reach those goals? This ain't about what you need them to do or what has to happen over there. What do you need to be doing? If your goal is to stay clean, what do you have to do to reach that goal? And just don't do no dope is not an answer. I need really, what actions are you going to take that are going to make it possible for you to reach your goal? If you want to get a job, and I don't believe in just going to find a job. I don't believe in looking and seeing what's out there and then taking whatever I can get. Let's determine what it is you want to do, what your qualifications are, what your experience is, and let's pick something that you actually want to be doing to support yourself. And then what do we need to do to make it possible for you to do that? If you need some training, let's go get you that. If you need some type of referral, let's go get you that. Whatever you need, let's make it possible for you. But this is on you. It's not my job to make you do that. My job is to make this opportunity available to you. It's your job to take advantage of the opportunity. So as long as when you come in and you say, this is my goal, this is what I need to do to reach that goal. As long as you are doing those things, you can stay in the program for as long as it takes. Yeah. But as soon as we look at you and you now sitting on the couch playing Xbox, you got to go. Right.
Now, would you offer this to your participants for free? If somebody wanted to help you by donating, is there a way that how would they go about doing that?
If they want to do what?
Like if somebody wanted to, as some of our viewers hear this, they say, "Hey, I like that," and they know that this is a nonprofit organization that you want, and somebody might want to make a donation to your program. How would they go about doing that to help out?
They can go to my website. It's TCA, the Change Agency, TCA soberliving.org. Right. And from there, you can learn about the program. We have a place there to play applications, and we also have a link for you to make donations and get more information. You can contact us through our website, tcasoberliving.org.
And it's on it'll be in the description, and it is also on the flyer that we made, the website. So if anybody, for any viewers who happen to be seeing this, you can get it there. And for our listeners on the podcast, I will make sure that, in the description for the podcast, it would also be there. And we will make sure that we will let you know at the end again, if you wanted to make a donation, how you could go about that. Some of the myths that, I remember, hearing that I lived with until I came home and started doing something different. I have a felony, I'll never be able to get a good job. I have a felony, I'll never be able to do this. I'll never be able to do that. What were some of the myths that you heard and that you actually bought into for a while, and to get out of those, the mindset that those myths came with? What were some of the actions that you took to get out of it?
Well, that's true. There are a lot of myths, and really, I took the same mentality that I took in my other life, and I applied it to the things here. The only way I'm gonna not get something I want is I'm gonna make you tell me no. Right. I'm not gonna just not have something because I didn't think I could have it. I'm gonna go ask, can I have it? And if they say no, I'm gonna say why, and then address that. But and I have that I hear that all the time. Oh, I can't I really can't fulfill my dreams because of the mistakes I've made from my past. This has been my honest experience with employment for felons. Most people are more concerned, most employers are more concerned. Number one, are you going to show up? Are you going to be here? And number two, are you going to give me a full day's work for what I pay you? Are you capable of doing it? And are you gonna do it? They're more concerned about that than they are what you did several years ago. And I tell people all the time, just be honest and be open. You know, before I even fill out this application, I'm going to ask, do you have a policy about hiring felons? Most places, 80% of the places do not.
Right.
They don't have any policy about hiring felons. So therefore, but it is an influence. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like nobody looks at that and it doesn't make a difference. That's true. But they're more looking at who you are today than they are looking at what you did in your past. So I go in and I'll tell people straight up, okay, look, if you're gonna do a background check, this is what you're gonna find. This is what's gonna come up when you do a background check. But that was then. This is where I was at that time. Since that time, these are the things that I have done. This is who you are hiring today. Today, you have a person with integrity that has a tremendous work ethic who will work harder than everybody else because I need it more. More often than not, that works. If it doesn't work, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And I go to somebody else.
You know, that honesty piece that you're talking about, George, because like when I was running last year for county commissioner, and I knew I was a real big underdog, but it was more about the hope shot for, after a while I was running on the hope shot for other people to say, hey, this guy here, if he can go out there and do that, maybe he'll get the right person, the right hope. But the honesty piece that you were talking about, one of the things that I heard that some of these established politicians and everything that have been in position and everything when we were taught, they said what we hear and what we like about you, Greg, is your level of honesty. That you bring that honesty to, the situation that they weren't used to. Like I'm not talking about, me coming in there being all belligerent, biting, not biting my tongue, but I'm going to tell you the truth about this is my policy, and I'm not varying from it. My whole thing that I was really running on was labor because because I'm in the labor union, and also reform for us. What I'm talking about restored citizens, because a lot of times we don't really have an advocate. So the honesty piece that you were talking about is very important for anybody who's trying to change their lives. Let's take a journey real quick. You come home, you get your associates from American River College. Then you go ahead and you get your bachelor's at Purdue in Fort Wayne. Then you go ahead up to Cass Western and you get your master's. Let's talk about that journey and the obstacles that you faced and the determination that you really had to have inside of yourself to go through all of those things.
You know something, first of all, I'm going to remind you that I really didn't do all of that alone. There were people behind me, supporting me and helping me the whole way. Because trust me, I wanted to quit more than once. After I got 2 degrees in California. One was in human services and the other was in chemical dependency studies. I got 2 associate degrees. And I moved back to Indiana and I enrolled at Purdue University because the truth of the matter is, I wanted to work in the field. I wanted to work with people who both had a criminal justice history and a history with substance abuse. And so I went and got my certification, which is what the 2 AAs allowed me to do. But then I really come to find out, can't make no money with that. That's the truth. And I've got a lifestyle that I've become accustomed to that I know how to go make money. I just don't want the consequences that come with doing that. And I ain't taking no more penitentiary chances.
Right.
That's out. So Anything that is going to present a possibility for me to get locked up is off the table. So therefore, I got to go this route. So if I want to make some money, I got to go get another degree. So when I enrolled at Purdue University, the first thing they said was, "Oh, you came from California. Um, we don't recognize that school. We're not going to take any of these credits."
Mm.
I'm like, "Yeah, you got to start all over," is what they told me. And I'm like, "Yeah, we ain't doing that. I'm 50 years old. I ain't got that option. I'm not starting all over." And they told me, "Well, what you have to do is you have to look at our curriculum and look at the objectives for all these credits that you want to transfer. And then you have to write a paper explaining that you have met these objectives, that you have actually learned all these things." I was a 3.6 grade point average when I came, 3.8 out of 4. And so I was like, man. So my first semester, my first year at Purdue, I had no major, but I took the classes that I need, but none of it. And I took my spare time and I wrote all those papers for 110 credits. And at the end of the year, when I presented all of this, she was like, "Wow, your level of commitment is incredible." And they gave me all those credits. I'm like, "Great, I'm in." So I go to my next year, and now this is my senior year because my junior year was in limbo. But then when they gave me all the credits, that all counted. Now this is my senior year. I got to do an internship. And I'm sitting in front of the same woman, and we're like, and I don't get to pick my internship. They have to pick it. And so she says, "Okay, we're going to look at where we're going to place you so that you can get some job on the job training." And I said, "Okay, let me make sure you understand this. This is what my background looks like. This is my history." And as I started telling this lady about my arrest record and my drug addiction, somebody looked like I reached over and stuck a pin in her. She just started mouth hung open. She just deflated. And she says, "I am so sorry. There's no way I'm going to be able to place you. You can't get an internship with felonies, violent felonies, and drug charges. We're not going to be able to place you." And again, that's not an option. And so I did something that people weren't supposed to do. I started going around the city and finding places that I would like the internship that would accept me. And I found a place that was a prison reentry program. And I got them necessary to register with the school so that they could be a part of their internship program. And then once it was all done, they put me in, and that's how I was able to graduate. When I applied for my licenses in Ohio, the same thing came up. We do not give independent licenses to armed robbers. That's just our thing. We're picky like that. And I appealed it, and I went before the hearing and I presented myself, and they appealed it. And now I've got several licenses in the state of Ohio. So yes, there are obstacles. It is not going to be easy because of the wreckage that I have created. I now have to clean that up if I want to move forward. I cannot expect to grow and prosper on the cruise. I can't just slide into what I want. Sometimes it takes work, but it's not like it's anything that we're not capable of doing.
Right.
So are we willing to do it?
And that's one of the things that when we do our screening process and that for our intake, we talk about that the hard work that because see one thing we talk about is the hard work, and what makes us different than a lot of other reentries. One is because we're nonprofit and we're helping them become business owners. A lot of them just do job readiness and get them ready for school. you know but we talk about the hard work it's going to take. That's why we believe in the mentorship program process, where we hook them up with a mentor. Like I'll be mentoring a couple of the people in the life sections, but we also give them a business mentor. And the business mentor doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's been through prison or anything like that. It can be just somebody who has a successful business, and helps them with that. Then we also hook them up with a financial mentor, not somebody who's giving them money, but show them how to do, teach them about, even though we teach them, in that 12-week class, we got a 5-week window to do the entrepreneurship, financial literacy. That ain't really enough time, but it's enough time to get your feet wet. So that's why we have a financial mentor to teach them more about financial literacy, about, what I'm saying, putting together a real budget and everything. And like, I'm feeding into this because you said along the way, there were people that helped you. That's what we're talking about with the mentorship and everything like that. And I know there was, people who helped me along the way. And there's a couple that stood out, like my mentor, I interviewed him about a month ago, Lamont Sapp. Name 2 or 3 of the people that really, really, really paid a big influence in getting to where you are once you came home and everything. Because that's what I believe in, is networking and you got to have somebody to help you. Really do.
Well, first and foremost, I would have to give credit to my family, my sister, and my mother. Now, these are the people that have known me my whole life. Starting from that first arrest at 12 years old, they have been in my life and have seen me at my worst. I remember when my mama told me, don't come to my house unless I'm home. And that's some hard things to hear from your one person who loved you more than everybody else in life. So, but they always stood behind me. And and they made this clear, as long as you are trying to better yourself, we are going to support you and encourage you and help you. I would not be in this position if people did not believe in me and keep telling me, you can do this, you're better than this, don't quit. So that was huge. There was another man I told you there was a person in prison, um, James Jenkins, who was serving a life sentence. He had gotten life for when he was 19 years old, and I met him when he was 44. So he had been in prison, 30 years.
Right.
Yeah. And he is without a doubt, to me, I mean, he is the most intelligent person that I have ever met in my life. He had taught himself other languages and instruments, and he read, and he was a linguist. He studied languages. And this was just what he did for his own sanity. And but he was very insightful, and he would never tell me what to do. He would never give me an answer when I asked him a question. It used to infuriate me. But what he would do was give me all the resources necessary for me to go and find my own answer. Something that he made me do, that he suggested that I do, that to this day still has an impact in my life. He told me to get a notebook and every morning to write down 3 things that I was grateful for. And that once I wrote something, I could never write it again. So if I wake up today and say I'm grateful for my mother, then I can never write my mother as something I could be grateful for. Now, what that did was, inside of a week, I ran out of things to be grateful for. I kept that list for almost 2 years. It taught me how to look for something good. And I get on people's nerves with it now. I'm always that bright side kind of guy. I can find something positive in the midst of negative, and that has helped me tremendously. It has built my faith that I can always find something to be grateful for. We've read that, if you can't find anything to be grateful for, start with the fact that you're not on fire.
Right.
And work your way up from there. The thing is, I've learned to not just find the minimal thing to be grateful for and stay there, but to use that to build everything else on. And he helped me do that. Another one was a man named Joe Henry. And there's a quote in my website that came from Joe Henry. And he said, "We don't shoot our wounded."
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he used to say that to me, he was talking about me. I was the wounded one. That he's saying, we're not going to give up on you because you make mistakes. We understand oops. We understand what it was, defects of character. What we can't understand is the unwillingness to look at them or change them. When I start creating all of these elaborate stories and reasons why I am the way I am, instead of trying to do something about it, that's a whole different thing. So that those people have been tremendously influential to me
All right.
to this day.
The change agency.
Mhm.
What all services do you guys provide?
So the change agency is the parent company,
Right.
and we operate the Adult Sober Living Program, which is a completely separate entity that falls under our ownership. Um, the Adult Sober Living Program has 20 uh, sober living beds, and we offer these to people who are primarily what we're looking for is to qualify because we're grant funded. You have to have some lived experience, some history, admit to a substance use disorder, and have some history in the criminal justice system. Very commonly, we have people that have a history with mental health disorders. All right, and we are equipped. The Adult Sober Living Program provides housing. We provide case management in the form of living life skills. So we kind of help you deal with life on a daily basis. So when you come in and you get your recovery plan, these are my goals and this is how I'm going to reach those goals. We then give you perspective and direction to keep you on track to help you reach those goals. Um, the Change Agency is a Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services certified substance abuse and mental health treatment agency. And we provide group and individual counseling. We provide case management. We provide, the house does things like in case management, like what you talk about with financial management. We got this thing that says that I don't care what you do with your money, your money is your business. But we want to make sure that you know what you'll do with your money. So once you have an income, because we'll offer people work. You know, we understand how it is. I don't like being broke. And even if I'm trying to do the right thing, being broke will be an obstacle to me doing that if I can't even buy a pack of cigarettes or if I can't get a soda if I want to. That's a hindrance that often makes me move backwards. So we'll find you some work to do to put some money in your pocket. But before we pay you, you need to come back and tell me what you're going to do with this money. Not because I care, but because I want to get you into the habit of budgeting your money, of thinking about not just carrying your money around in your front pocket until you find something to do with it. Know what I'm going to do with it. And then next week, I'm going to come back and say, how well did you follow your plan?
Right.
So that's the idea of our case management in the house. Venue planning. You know, we want you to get out of the habit of eating at McDonald's 3-5 days a week.
People don't realize how expensive that becomes, you know.
Right. We
Right.
want to start giving you the idea of planning in advance what you're going to eat and not wait until you're hungry to do it. And this isn't just about my money management, which it is, but it's also about me having organization and structure for my thinking and my life. Food is just an easy place to start to get that in order. So And the change agency, we are in the process of growing. We are in 2021. We intend to grow into medical assisted treatment, and we will grow into an ambulatory detox, where people that do find themselves addicted can come here and then on an outpatient basis detox and then get all services they need while we're here.
Okay, cool. You just answered my next question. I was going to ask you what do what do you see on the horizon of where you're moving toward, moving forward with the, with the change agency, which you just answered that and everything. Um, you know, one thing we try to do is like, as we talk about the people who are doing it, the agencies that we have or the jobs or whatever, we also like to promote, so not so much promote, but talk about some of the partners that you found, helpful. Because I know this, every agency doesn't do everything by themselves. You got to have
Right.
some good network, a good partners. Just like when, like I said earlier, and I meant every word of it. You've heard me say this before. When I knew that there were going to be some people that we service that were going to need housing, you were the first person I thought about because I know your integrity. Who are some of the people that you're partnering with, other than me being new on the totem pole, but you've been doing it with, because people need to know about these things. One thing I've come to find out, not just in the Black community, and not just in the drug and alcohol community, but in all of these grassroots things, organizations. There's a lot of people doing a lot of good things, but a lot of people don't know that these services are out here. So so who are a couple of people that you've been partnering with over the years?
Well, yes, that is very true. That we know it's not a good idea to try and do everything. So there's no point in reinventing the wheel. We work with the Goodwill Easter Seals down on at 660 South Main Street.
Right, sure, right.
Offers a variety of services, and we often work with them. I have a good working relationship with them. It's like if somebody they have a program there called Recovery to Work, and they have 80 partners that allows them to put people in jobs. So rather than me go out and try and make 80 partners,
Right.
I make a partner with them, and we can set up to send people to them. The Urban Minority Alcohol Drug Addiction Outreach Program, UMADOP. UMADOP has some very helpful services for reentering people that are reentering into society. They have some grants for training and development that rather than me go out and try to get these, I can partner with that director. And when we get somebody who's a good fit for them, we can send them over there. I've talked to you. I tell you, we have a partnership with the Electrical and Laborers Union.
Correct.
To where and working with you with they've got this union apprenticeship program. All right. For people who have that background or have that affinity and want to do that, I don't have a problem with sending them to you and saying, hey, get this information from him, find out if this is a good fit for you. All right. We also work with the Montgomery County courts, the child enforcement department, the child support enforcement, because these are common problems that people have. And so what we do, I can't solve that problem, but we have a relationship with them people, and we need you. Don't try to get a job under the table because they're going to take your money. Go down there and talk to them people and fix the problem. And they know that these people, if they're coming and they're coming through our referral, that they're genuinely trying to work a change in their life, and they usually give them a little more leeway because of that.
When you said the Montgomery County courts, I had to laugh a little bit because one of the people that we're partnering up with and we work with, it's the federal, the federal reentry court, and it still blows my mind coming from where I'm at, being in the same rooms with these people, and not afraid that I'm going, I know I'm walking out of the courtroom if I'm in there at that time. I know I'm walking from out of the judge's chambers. I know that, and it still blows my mind that, every we're meeting virtually right now doing the federal, judge working with Judge Rice and the federal courts, reentry program. I mean reentry court, and just to hear him calling me Mr. West without the gavel hitting after he says that is still something that
I get that.
yeah. I was about to say, so does it still blow your mind sometimes that when you find yourself working with some of these people like the Montgomery County courts and knowing your background, going from being in that 5x7 and all of a sudden now here it is, you're what we strive to be, a productive member of society, a respectable, a responsible, you know what I'm saying, a person that because I know sometimes it still blows me away. Do you ever find yourself looking like, wow, look at where I'm at?
So, yeah, I work with the Montgomery County Public Defender's Office. Regularly will call me because they'll have somebody that, that they have coming up and they want to be able to say that we have sober supportive housing for this person. If you will consider releasing him, we have a place for him to go. So they often call me and says, hey, can you please go interview this person and consider them for your program? And also I partnered with the Montgomery County Atomists. And Adam has partnered with me to design a reentry program for people who have severe persistent mental illnesses. So oftentimes when somebody meets these categories, they'll send me down to the jail to go talk to somebody. And it's still, every time it amazes me that they let me in and then when I'm ready to leave, they let me go. You know that feeling when you're sitting there, but you still got to sit in the little room with the phone, right? Or
Right.
actually, I get to go into the lawyer room. So they give me that privilege of actually sitting face to face with somebody sometimes. And I'll be sitting there and I'll hear that sound of a door securing. And then I'll be like, you know what? I can leave when I want to.
Right.
Yeah, that still astonishes me.
Yeah.
That still amazes me that it messes me up that I am the voice of reason. That is amazing to me that people actually call me for insight. I used to be, they called me to incite, to go and throw gasoline on the fire. And today they call me to put the fire out. And I'm like, wow, we have truly come full circle.
Okay. Again, George, I mean, like, this has been, I get a kick out of every time I do this, I mean, I really do, because, I said at the beginning before we came on camera, the whole premise of this channel and this podcast is to give people hope and also let the information know out in the community that, there are people who have turned their lives around. Because one thing that, like how we have the same negative thought patterns sometimes about ourselves, like, oh, the myths that we were talking about. I will never be able to do this. A lot of times, society has these myths about us too, you know. And most of it comes from getting information from, sources that don't even, that won't even reach out and talk to people like us. So, I'm happy that we finally have a medium like this to get people out, to get information out. So, we got a few more minutes, and I would like for you to, just take a few minutes and talk about some of the hope shots, some that you've seen, some of the people that have come through the programs from when I first came home, and I remember coming to talk to you at the PowerNet and all of that stuff, from all the way from there until, talk about some of the hope shots that you've seen, some of, talk, let's talk about some of the success stories that you've seen, not just the success story that you've become, but some of the ones that you've seen come through.
There have been several. We have a very good success rate. Actually, I have 3 people that work for me that all came through this program. 2 of them have been to prison, but all 3 of them came to me from a substance abuse residential treatment program. And Actually, one of them, the very first person that came through this program when I first got my first house back in 2016, and I hadn't even got it funded yet, but I took a person coming out of treatment. That person is still working with me today. He started out doing home remodeling because that's what we were doing. Matter of fact, he was working on the house he was living in because we couldn't afford nobody, and he had to do that work if he didn't want no rain coming through the roof. But he became so proficient that at some point I couldn't afford him anymore. And my blessing to you, people started seeing the work he was doing, and the fact what really made the difference is they could see that he had integrity, that he did what he said he was going to do to the best of his ability, and that was very attractive. And now, even though I stay in contact with him and work with him, he now has his own business, and he owns his own home and has his own vehicles, and he's running his own thing. And he started on the same principles that you and I did: integrity, doing the best I can to the best of my ability. Um, I have my administrator is another one. He came through here, and the only thing he really had, well, granted, he had a degree in computer science, but he also had not lived his life in years because of drug addiction. And he came here and we believed in him and we supported him and we gave him some work, and he went back and got himself some more training. And now I don't think I could continue to operate this business without him. We have had a whole bunch of people. We support people even after graduation because, we nobody does it alone.
Right.
And we want to make sure, but we also require that you give back also. We pay it forward. The people that we help people. And that's how we all stay here. That's how we all got here. And that's how we all can make sure we stay here. We have had a lot of success stories come through. Like the one dude that came back and uh, reunited with his family, and then his mother became ill. And his family asked him to go back to their hometown and care for his mother. And this man was crying because he was like, you know, I have created so much havoc in my mother's life. I have brought her so much pain and grief. And now at the end of her life, I am in the position to be her comfort. You have no idea the value, what that means to a person when that's all they ever wanted was to be that little boy for their mother again. And it's all success stories that end with a lot of money. Some of them end with just self-respect. I'm okay with who I am. I might be struggling. I might not have that great big Cadillac with the diamond in the back and the sunroof top. But I'm able to be okay with who I am, knowing that I am doing my best and that I am acting with some degree of integrity. I am a good person as opposed to that person I used to be. And every day I just try to get better. Sometimes that is our success. And for that ability to lay my head down on the pillow at night and close my eyes and have peace, that is invaluable.
Yeah, it is. It is. Being able to go to bed, like I say, I might not see the type of money I was in a lifestyle, and I might not ever see that ever again in my life. But I do have something that I never had, what you were just saying. I can put my head on my pillow at night and have a peace of mind, and that peace just, I mean, it's worth it. It really is. George,
Mm-hmm.
I want to take again this time to thank you, man. I mean, I'm hoping that our listeners and our viewers get something out of it. And like again, like I said, if somebody wanted to make it, though, even though it's going to be in the description and everything where they can see and it's on the flyer and everything, if someone wanted to make a donation to your foundation, to tell them again the website where they could go ahead and do that at.
It is at tcasoberliving.org.
Okay. And because I'm pretty sure some people will hear the good work that you're doing, And like, oh, and he's doing it for free because that's the same thing that we're doing with Felons with a Future. Everything that for the participant, it is free of charge. Only thing we ask is that you are going to pay. You're going to pay with the dedication of showing up and everything. And if you choose not to, okay, that doesn't mean that we're going to close the door on you. We're not going to give up on you. But we also believe that, hey, you're going to have to pay something. It's going to be
There's
hard work,
always a
right?
consequence.
It's going to be some dedication and some hard work. And like what you were talking about, to pay it forward, that's part of the thing that we have our guys too. When they finish their 12 weeks and, they come back, they mentor somebody too. That's the only way we get through this. It's by taking somebody else by the hand like somebody else took us. So like, again, I like to say thank you again, man. It was a lot of good information. I hope our listeners and our viewers, found this, the information in here to be helpful. Um, I always say this, everybody has a story. This is a chance for yours to be heard. No matter how far you've fallen down, you can always get back up. And if you know anybody who you think should be highlighted on our shows, who come home, or even the people who work with them, doesn't necessarily have to be ever been in the system, but works with them. If you want to hear or you think they should be highlighted, please have them get in touch with us at felonswithafuture@gmail.com. If you would like to make a donation to this channel or to this podcast so that we can keep operating, you can do so at PayPal at felonswithafuture@gmail.com, or our cash app, which is $felons with a future. And we take all donations, but more importantly, we would like to find people who have like minds and would like to give up some sweat equity to help people out, like like we've been helping out. Again, George, I thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know you're a busy man. I mean, you're about I'm going to say the second hardest working person I know, because I'm going to say the hardest working person I know is me. You know, I like to thank you for taking the time out, man. And peace and blessings to you, my brother.
Not a problem, man. Not a problem.